Joining us now is OG Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Genix.
TGIF.
Thank God it's Friday. How are you? You good?
I'm always happy on Fridays. You know that.
Yes, I know.
Otundra Biola, good morning. How are you?
As long as you are not up to any mischief.
I thought we were in...
Did you hear that?
What did you say? What did you say?
I said, as long as you are not up to any mischief. Again. Yes, thank God it's Friday.
Do you know what he did to me during my life in Dubai? He asked me whether I was up to any mischief. How do you deal with this man?
I struggle, OJ.
How are you?
He will put you on the spot. He will throw you under the bus. Did you see what he did to me earlier?
No, I missed that.
I'm trying to show you.
I know what you're trying to show. Okay, we're matching. Is that what it is?
Yeah. I want you to see my wrist.
We're matching today.
Anyway, Tunda, I wasn't part of that. I was only Dr. Bati this morning. So
you're a snitch.
Well, all right.
And I like the black and white contrast.
All right, Rufai. You just
okay, OG, let's go.
Should we start?
Yes.
Permit me to start. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Boris Johnson and his wife, Carrie Johnson, welcomed their baby girl on Thursday. The baby is the couple's second child together after their son, Wilfred, was born in April 2020. Johnson, who has been married twice before he tied the knot with Carrie in May of this year, has 4 children with his previous wife, Marina Wheeler. In Canada, the government has formally banned conversion therapy, the widely discredited practice aimed at changing a person's sexual orientation or gender identity. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Thursday held the royal assent, which was granted by the Governor General of Canada. In a tweet, the Prime Minister condemned the practice, calling it despicable and degrading. Under sports, the Chinese government on Thursday warned countries that have announced a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics over the country's human rights record that they will pay the price for their mistaken acts. Wang Wenbing, a spokesperson at the Chinese Foreign Ministry, accused the United States, Britain, and Australia of using the Olympics platform for political manipulation. And Time magazine on Thursday named Olympic gymnastics champion Simone Biles as 2021 Athlete of the Year. The publication celebrated the gymnastics star for helping to propel mental health to the forefront of a broader cultural conversation. Finally, under entertainment, actor JUSSIE SMOLLETT on Thursday was found guilty on 5 of 6 felony counts of disorderly conduct for making a false report to Chicago police that he was the victim of a hate crime in January 2019, an attack prosecutors say was staged. The actor was charged with a Class 4 felony and could face up to 3 years in prison and a fine of $25,000. The verdict came after a trial in which 2 Nigerian brothers, the Oshundairos, testified that Smollett recruited them to fake the attack on him near his home in downtown Chicago. Well, let's begin what's trending with the federal government's withdrawal of the approval granted to Emirates Airlines for their winter schedule. Well, the federal government, in a move signaling reciprocity of action on Thursday, reduced the carrier's daily flights to Abuja to just once a week, following the decision of the United Arab Emirates to cut Nigeria's Air Peace flight operations to the Emirates to once a week. In February this year, Emirates Airlines stopped flights to Nigeria when its operation was put on hold by the federal government following its demand for Nigerian travelers to take the rapid COVID test 4 hours prior to their flight, a move that was condemned by the aviation minister, Hadi Sarika, as discriminatory. The ban was lifted on November 26th after the UAE agreed that rapid tests would no longer be required for passengers traveling to Dubai. Well, first, I'd like to congratulate Nigeria and the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority for this act of reciprocity. I will tell you, last week I was in Dubai, and we thought that we didn't need to take the rapid test before we got on our flight. Because obviously the UAE said They no longer require that. Do you know that when we were about to go to the airport, they told us that we had to do that rapid test. And we did that rapid test before, and a lot of visitors, a lot of people that were going to come for the HRISE Fashion Week show could not get on that flight because they thought that we would not require those rapid COVID tests. I mean, this thing has been going on with Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates for months now. Like I said earlier, you know, we had a ban in February because of this rapid test. And the fact is, Emirates Airlines have been responsible for a lot of criminal acts. You know that during that ban, they had been charging passengers money. They had been announcing flights, that they were going to resume flights. And during that period, at least they did it like 4 times. During that time, they charged Nigerians money. I mean, if this were to happen in any country, I mean, if this was to happen in Nigeria, they will ban Nigerian flights from ever entering their countries. Dr. Abati, I want to start with you on this story.
Okay, you made a point about reciprocity.
Yes.
Nigeria and Emirates flights, you know, we've been on it for more than a year. And then last week or so, there was that announcement that, oh, the Nigerian government had now finally lifted a ban on Emirates flights to Nigeria. But then again, you know, there's something called bilateral air services agreement. Under the bilateral air services agreement that you sign, there is consideration on both sides. And we've complained about this all the time, that oftentimes Nigeria signs this agreement, it doesn't get its own part of the bargain, and Nigeria is just holding the short end of the stick. And I guess within a week, it was realized that this would be to the advantage of Emirates Airlines and the UAE. The UAE, the Emirates Airlines in particular, was going to be coming to Nigeria, was given the opportunity to have 21 flights.
21 flights.
To Nigeria in 1 week.
Correct.
Both in Abuja and also in Lagos. Meanwhile, Nigerian Airlines had not allowed. Even the Air Peace flight that took you guys to Dubai,
yes,
you know, it was just because of intervention of the authorities.
Correct.
Air Peace was not going to be allowed. So what is the point? If Emirates Airlines will be flying in and out of Nigeria 21 times a week, and Nigeria will be struggling to allow just one airline to get into Dubai once a week. So what Captain Musa Nuhu, who is the man who signed, you know, this reversal, and I guess he has the support of Addis Rika and other relevant agencies. What, you know, the aviation sector in Nigeria has now done is to say, no, it has to be reciprocal. The concern previously was about Emirates Airlines management of COVID-19 protocols, which you again referred to. But this time around, you cannot have 21 flights into Nigeria in 1 week, and one airline that can come to Dubai will be struggling with one flight. Okay, so it's reciprocal. You come into Abuja once a week. The Nigerian airline that has access to your Dubai airport will come in also once a week.
50-50,
fair
no
is
cheating.
fair.
No cheating, 50-50.
So I think the Nigerian authorities, the NCAA in particular, and the Ministry of Aviation, summoning the courage to act in this kind of decisive manner is commendable.
Yes,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
the kind of thing you find in Nigeria is that people who have been given positions of authority for reasons unknown to us, you know, often disappoint Nigeria.
Yes.
And they tend to throw their own country under the bus. So I like it when the Nigerian authorities stand up for the country and say, we will not be treated shabbily.
Yes, I'm just really upset about the amount of money Nigerians have lost with these airlines at this point, Tundu Abiola.
Which is why the government has taken a stand. I don't like it. I love it.
Yes.
Quid pro quo.
Yes.
People have to be put in their place. It has to be communicated as strongly as possible that you cannot jerk us around. We cannot be abused. And I think this is just the best thing ever. They have come to the defense of their citizens. Good.
Fantastic. Rufai.
I mean, very, very happy towing the line of Tundu. In fact, I feel like speaking my very funny French this morning, not great French. Je suis très content. I am so happy, very happy at things like this. Because you see, when you look at it, it is always us on the receiving end. And concerning the monies they've collected from Nigeria thus far, you know, they said they were going to fly. They should bring in, you know, Federal Competition Agency into this and Consumer Protection and Safety Council. headed by Dr. Babatunde Rikara. He should investigate those cases. Nigerians that bought those tickets should forward those tickets to Dr. Babatunde Rikara at the helm of that agency. He should investigate. I know he's going to do a fine job as regards that. Secondly, it's good, Dr. Bati, you raised this issue of this, what's it called, base agreements we normally have across countries with BESA agreements we normally have across countries with airlines. Because I'm also now going to extend that to the UK. We signed an agreement with the UK, but the agreement is not balanced. Britain has 2 airlines coming in, British Airways and Virgin. Where's the Nigerian airline going to Britain? None, as I can speak of, as for now. So we should also use that to caution Britain, because Catriona Lang was asked a question yesterday, that's the British High Commissioner, and she was trying to be very smart. When they asked her that, based on the science, should we stop British flights too from entering Nigeria? She said, no, we shouldn't do that. We should just follow the science. But based on the science, you can see Tottenham Hotspur, an entire football team riddled by COVID. Leicester City riddled by COVID. Community spread of Omicron. So we too should now use that BASA agreement to talk to Britain and say, you guys, you need to do the needful. Because we must defend our country.
Yes,
it's a sovereign state everywhere. So apart from this that we've done to these people here with Emirates, we should, Britain is
extend it to Britain. And I think they're even lucky to be able to fly into the country, because what Emirates have done is completely criminal, really unfair. Well, we'll take another story. A video that is now making the rounds on social media shows a man who was being assaulted by an alleged naval officer. The man in the video claimed that the naval officer broke his windscreen with his gun because he refused to park his car after the officer asked him to pull over for driving too fast. Well, let's take a quick look.
I will break my glass. I will break your eye. Why? Why did you break your eye? Why did you break my glass? Why did you break my glass? Why? What have I done? You said I should go. You know that I was going. You broke my glass. Why? I see you. You're a military man. I said you should go. You said I should go. I'm on the lane. You said I should go. And now you broke my glass. Why? Why? Now why did you break my glass? Why? Now why did you break my glass? Go out of me. Yes. Go out of me. I will.
Well, at this point, this man is yet to be identified. But I was just saying, I mean, when did a naval officer become a VIO officer? I don't understand what's going on here. And the guy had a gun, you could see the anger in the other man's face. I think we had a video of him lamenting at this point that, Nigerians should come to his rescue if anything should happen to him.
That's the worst part.
Yes. I mean, it is so scary. At this point, I believe that the man agreed to pay. I think that's what he said. The naval officer agreed to pay 15,000 naira, but he's been trying to reach him and he cannot get a hold of him.
The worst part for me was that if anything happens to me, he was actually afraid for his life. So I just feel like anybody who has a uniform and a gun can stand on the street and terrorize the rest of us. This is what this is trying to communicate. Look at this attack. Look at this vandalism of somebody else's property for no reason. That naval officer must be found and he must be disciplined. You had a story the other day about the comedian who was locked up because he was an embarrassment to the social media rules. Yes, this is an embarrassment to his uniform. Absolutely. He has to be disciplined. Absolutely. This cannot be accepted. And I'm really glad that his name tag is clearly visible and he can be traced. He must be traced. How dare he?
Dr. Abati.
Well, the Navy has a department called Naval Police, just as the military also have a department called Military Police. But their job does not include the regular work of the Nigeria Police. And we've been raising concerns about using soldiers to do police work, because the mandate of the Nigerian military is properly defined in the enabling acts of the various units of the Nigerian military. So this particular officer, a member of a naval officer, was acting ultra-virus. Now, the affected citizen said he was traveling between Mile 2 and the trade fair. Now, there is a naval base somewhere around there, I think around Ojo, on the way. So maybe he left his barracks and came onto the road to do police work. That in itself is an act of indiscipline. Who deployed them? Who put him there to go and be checking vehicles? He said the man was overspeeding. That's not part of the job of the Navy. There is more than enough happening within our coastal lines that a naval officer can go and do. They have their own mandate cut out for them. And if he was acting as a citizen, now the criminal act, taking the law into his hands, of inflicting punishment, of extrajudicial punishment of destroying this gentleman's windscreen, shows that he's an irresponsible officer and a disgrace to the naval uniform that he was wearing. Okay, where are we going with this? Where we are going is this, that the naval authorities, they have a duty to identify this man and make sure that he's immediately court-martialed and committed to the guard room, and that appropriate punishment is meted out to him. Because it is this kind of disgraceful behavior that continues to ensure alienation between the people and security agencies. You recall that during the NSAS protest in Lagos, one of the demands with regard to the police, which you can extend by the NSAS protesters, is that there is a need for psychiatric audit of uniformed persons. This particular officer confirms it, that many of the people in uniform have mental health issues. And I think that the gentleman who has gone to the social media to publicize his plight should not stop at that. He should go for that and lodge a formal complaint. If he needs a lawyer, he should go to Falano, and Falano will readily defend him.
He's doing so well.
Yes, so this is where we have found ourselves in this country. And so do you need to ask any further questions about why Nigerians do not trust uniformed persons? The most dramatic example was one that happened at the roundabout, Allen roundabout, on one occasion. An officer was said to have been hit from the back, his vehicle, that is. He stood down, he asked the man driving the other vehicle to open his mouth, and he shot him in broad daylight.
My heart.
So to see that in 2021, you still have this kind of characters who need mental health attention, wearing Nigerian uniform, I think is scandalous. The relevant authorities in the Nigerian Navy should look into this. However, our motorists, whether you are a big man or you are a small man, should also learn to behave themselves.
Yes, when they ask you to stop, you stop.
Two things. Number one place that the NSAS reports and the white paper agreed on was the need to bring about trust among people and young people and government officials. Incidents like this will distort the equilibrium of trust in society. It is incidents like this that make people look otherwise. Uniformed men should understand that the civilians you call bloody are the ones you are supposed to serve. And they must be corrected. And secondly, who told him the man was overspeeding? Show me one Lagos road that has a speed limit, except for 3rd Mainland Bridge that I know of, that is 70 miles per hour. Show me one place that at the start of the road there's a speed limit. Where are the speed cameras? This is the function of FIS, the Federal Road Safety Corps. This is the function of other state road agencies. So why is he doing this? It just shows the high-handedness and that spirit of subjugation they have. They always want to pull other people down.
Right.
It also behoves on the government to set the laws in place. I've just said something. I hope they do it. It is time we start having speed limits on roads in Lagos.
Very good. Okay.
So we know those that are speeding or not. Because most Lagos roads, no speed limits.
I wanted to add something.
Well, the BIS, Vehicle Inspection Service, they say they've put cameras around the Lagos street. The Federal Road Safety Commission said they were going to do something about speed limits in the year 2021. What have they done? How far have they gone with it?
All right, then. We'll take our final story in Italy with reactions. Following a declaration by Pope Francis that lust is not the worst of the 7 deadly sins. Well, according to the Pontiff, who made the declaration on December 6th, there are worse indiscretions than sex outside marriage. The leader of the Catholic Church disclosed this to reporters on board the papal plane after accepting the resignation of Paris Bishop Michel Okpe, who had an affair with a woman. Pope Francis said the bishop, who has since asked for forgiveness, had resigned not because he had sinned, but because the gossip about him had left him in a position where he could no longer govern the diocese, further stating that sin of the flesh were certainly sins, but not as great as sins such as hatred and pride, and that the bishop had been a victim of an injustice. Reacting to the Pope's statement, Afrobeat musician Seun Kuti referred to the Pope as a bad boy on Instagram. The musician wrote a post stating, "So wives, forgive your husbands, but more importantly, husbands, forgive your wives." This is so, I mean, I don't know, Dr. Vati, you know I'm coming to you on this story. Because, I mean, should husbands forgive their wives and should wives forgive their husbands? Because obviously, the Pope has spoken.
Well, I mean, I don't think that the Pope is recommending, coquetry or adultery. I assume that Seun Kuti, probably the big bird Kuti,
yes,
as he calls himself on social media, I think he probably was taking the Pope out of context. And he was probably making the statement in jest. So I'm even surprised that people are taking his comment so seriously.
Yeah.
Because he even referred to the Pope as a bad boy.
Bad boy.
Okay, so, typical Kuti tradition of what they call yabis. But I think the point that the Pope was making should not be lost on us. He didn't say that committing adultery or, getting involved in untidy relationships is okay. He wasn't endorsing it. He was saying it's a sin, yes, but there are greater sins. Sins about hate, about pride. And this is a Pope who has been speaking a lot about global peace, about crisis in the world, about the need for global solidarity.
Yes.
And look at what pride and hate, those two major moral evils and omissions have caused in different parts of the world. Whether you are talking in terms of how the Chinese treat minorities in Xinjiang and other parts of China, or you're talking about the kind of conflicts that we have across Africa, putting Africa behind, or the kind of conflict you have between China and Russia and Australia, or that you have between China and the United States. It's all about pride, it's all about hate, it's all about, so I think that the Pope's statement should be taken beyond the Archbishop of Paris, who found himself in an untidy situation. Yeah. And that, some of these archbishops who go out of line, that in itself is a major issue in the Catholic Church.
Of course.
How the church responds to that. And even before the present Pope, that issue had been on the table. So I think that Seun Kuti missed the subtle point that the Pope was trying to make. So I don't think this is about promoting incestuous relationships or adultery or coquetry or the church carrying the banner for immoral relationships.
Not at all.
But he's not alone in his thoughts, though, Tundu, our pastor. He's not alone.
Who's
a lot
not
of people,
alone?
Seun Kuti, a lot of
but
people
the Pope didn't talk about adultery.
Right.
He was just talking about
the fact that it's a lesser crime than hatred or gossip, exactly.
Which it is.
Yes.
And even the Bible recognizes that, and the Bible is the authority. I imagine that the Pope would be citing,
yes,
seeing as he is the Pope, talking about, Jesus himself. If you have those Bibles that have red letters, I'm sure you have one, Dr. Abati.
No, I have a whole shelf of Bibles.
I know you do. Yes. I know you do. Talks about light beatings and severe beatings for this person or that person. And talks about it will be worse for this town than that town. So there are degrees. And I think the Pope also has been reading, I imagine, Dante Alighieri's poem, Inferno, with the 9 circles of hell. And lust is only the 2nd circle of hell, frankly. And so there's worse sins than lust. The 9th is the ultimate, and that's betrayal.
Right. Rufai.
I think the most important message the Pope said there
was
that of reconciliation, that we might have sinned and erred.
Yes.
But there's also a part for forgiveness. And that's the message of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You know why? Because in all of this, it is the gossiping, the hatred that the people had against that man, that they kept on gossiping again to pull him down.
Yeah.
That was even deeper a sin than what he had done. He could have repented from that. And
but he did ask for forgiveness.
And he asked for forgiveness. He has repented.
Yes.
But the hatred of those people to say, and the pride to say, oh, how dare you do this? I think that's what the Pope was speaking about.
Right.
So the message is forgiveness.
Well,
forgiveness.
He who has never sinned, let him cast the first stone.
Well, thank you, Dr. Abati. That's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all next week.